This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Yahweh is a name who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahushai is his son who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of great Millstone who well and taught us this truth. And salutation to the Akim out there pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth and risking their life to do so for Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai's sake. I'm Brother Samak from the GMS Miami camp. And the reason why I brought the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 7, is I'm going to get into the Apostle Paul, all right, and what his mission was when he called himself the Apostle of the Gentiles, all right. And that's why I brought out Proverbs 4 and 7, because, you know, wisdom is the principal thing. And with all thy getting, you have to get understanding. And you got to understand these scriptures. You got to understand, okay, the time period, all right, what Paul meant when he said about Gentiles and the Grecians, all right? And that's why you got to study. You got to study these scriptures, man, all right? You got to take your time, and because, you know, these are stumbling blocks, all right, for those unbelievers, you know, for those so-called Christians. That's why the scripture says, study to show thyself approved. When you go, actually, let me get that real quickly. There's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Right, and that's why you got to get into words, all right? You got to get into meanings, or you won't understand, okay, what you're reading. And you have to be taught. You have to be taught, all right? You have to be taught by the apostle of Great Millstone, all right? Because you can't get this on your own, all right? And that cuts all that madness. The Lord spoke to me, or the Lord came to me. Nah, man, you got to be taught by men, all right? And that's here at Great Millstone. So what was Paul's mission? What was his lot while he was preaching the word? So now let me go to the book of Romans just to get to this point. Book of Romans, chapter 11. And I'm just going to get to the point, verse 13. For I speak to you Gentiles is as much as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my office. Right. So what do you mean by that? I speak to you Gentiles because I'm the apostle of the Gentiles. All right. Well, when you go into the word Gentiles, all right, I got this right. Just got to get to it real quickly. Right here. Gentile, this is from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. All right, it was copyright, I believe it's 1967. All right, so this came out before I was born, before majority of you people that are watching were born. All right, Gentiles. Usually it means non-Israelite people. Usually, all right, meaning majority of the time, generally means non-Israelite people. That doesn't mean all the time, all right? And when you go into that word usually, I got it up right here. Just going to get to it real quickly. I don't want to make this lesson too long. Usually, if something usually happens, it is a thing that most often happens in a particular situation. All right? Customarily, at most times. So most of the time when you go into the word Gentile, it means heathen or another a nation. But there are particular times, especially in the New Testament, when you look at the word Gentile, it means Israelite foreigners, all right? All right? The dispersia, okay? And that's who Paul, okay, was told to go to. And I'm going to get it right here in the book of Acts, chapter 9. And I'm going to start at Ananias part. All right, this is when Paul got his sight back. You can, if you read in the beginning part of Acts 9, he got his sight back. All right, he was blind for 3 days, but I'm going to get to the point right here. Verse 10. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. Verse 11. And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth. Verse 12. And Saul is meaning Paul, all right? Because that was Paul's original name was Saul, all right? And then he got his name changed to Paul later on. Verse 12. And hath seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming and putting his hand on him that he might receive his sight. Right, because Paul was still blind, all right? And this is the third day. Verse 13. Then Ananias answered the Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he have done to thy saints at Jerusalem. Right, because what was Paul doing? All right, he was persecuting the believers of Yahushua, the believers of who the world really calls Jesus. All right, all you got to do is go to the book of Acts, chapter 8, verse 3. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church, entering in every house and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. Right, all right, those that believed on Yahushua, those that believed that Yahushua was the Son of the Most High. All right. Paul wasn't believing at that time. All right, Paul was still believing in the laws of Moses. All right, they didn't believe that Yahushua was the Son of Man until Paul got knocked off his horse and he got blinded for 3 days, and then this is where he became a believer. Okay, back to Ananias, verse 13. And then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. Verse 14. And there he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. Right. Once again, prison. Verse 15. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is chosen vessel unto me to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. Verse 16. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. Right. And Paul did suffer, all right? You had Jews that didn't believe on Yahushua, wanted to kill him, man. They're waiting to kill him, all right? They wanted to kill him because what he was preaching in the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. He was saying that the Son of the Most High is, okay, Yahushua. So now, in the same chapter, let's go down, all right? Now, this is when Paul was, all right, in the Spirit, and he was speaking to both Jew, okay, and Gentile, also known as Grecians. All right, verse 29. And he spoke the same chapter, verse 9, all right? Okay, 29. And he spoke boldly in the name of the Lord Yahushua and disputed against the Grecians, but they went about to slay him. Right, and when you go into the word Grecians, all right? Got it right here, just getting to the point. Grecians. Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folks of the dispersion from areas prominently Greek. All right? Go to Acts 9 and 29, and this where I was at. All right? So, hey, once again, when you go into that word Grecians, it's talking about, okay, Greek-speaking Jews. All right? They were Israelites, but they were speaking in the Greek tongue. All right? And they were taking on Greek customs. Because how did this happen? All right? Why did Paul have to now become the apostle of Gentiles? All right, because all right, a lot of our people were still in a Gentile state of mind. All right, because of the time period of the Greeks. And that's why you can go into the book of Maccabees, which I'm going to go into to prove that case. And that's why you got to study to show that self-proved. That's why you got to get wisdom and understanding. All right, or else you're not going to understand what's being talked about, because it's the same chapter. All right, so let's go to the book of Maccabees just to edify that point. First, Maccabees, and I'm going to go to 41 to get to the point. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom. Now, this is King Antiochus, all right, when he was ruling, all right, in the time of the Greeks, all right, because he was one of the king. He was a king of Greece, all right. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Verse 42. All should be one people, meaning, all right, New World Order, all right, in that time period, all right, meaning taking on the customs of the Greeks, speaking the Greek tongue. It's going to say it right here, verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Right, because when you go into the history of Alexander the Creep, or like Esau, you so-called white people like to say Alexander the Great, all right, but he was a creep, all right, he was a nasty homosexual, all right, that's for another topic. But he went on conquering, and he took over many strongholds, man, many countries, all right, and those nations that he conquered became subjected, okay, tributaries to the Greek Empire, all right. And so now Antiochus is like, hey, I want everybody who's in the province, okay, in the territory of Greece to now be one people. And everyone shall leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43. Yea, many also of Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So you even had Israelites that said, I'm doing away with my customs, my culture. I'm going to go follow the ways of the Greeks. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judea, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. Verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh, right, eating pork, touching pork, and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised. Now you understand about the circumcision, uncircumcision in the New Testament. You see that? That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances, to the end that they might forget the law. Right, and our people forgot the law. All right, look at today, man. Just like it was going on during the time of Paul, all right, was speaking to the Gentiles and to, okay, Grecians, Greek-speaking Jews, all right, because he had to bring them in and say, hey, you're not, okay, a Gentile, you're not a Greek, all right, you're an Israelite, all right. So continuing on, it goes on and says, I want to get to a point right here, and this is the point, verse 50, and whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So naturally, if you're not going to follow the king's laws, his statutes, his customs, which are the Greek, Antiochus, all right, you have to be put to death. So what did Jake do? What did the Israelites do? Or they said, hey, I'm not going to follow after my power. I'm going to go after the ways of the Grecians, the ways of the Greeks, excuse me, all right? And that's why you have what Paul was talking about. So now, Lord willing, that was edifying. So now you understand Gentiles usually means non-Israelite, but not all the time. There's certain cases, which in the New Testament, as well as Grecians, all right, which are Greek-speaking Jews, okay? So back to, let's go to Acts 13, so I want to edify this point. Now, this is Paul speaking again, all right? I'm going to start at Acts 13, verse 13. Now, when Paul and his company loosed from Paphos, they came to Perga in Pamphylia, and John departing from them returned to Jerusalem. Verse 14. But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia, and went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and sat down. All right? On the Sabbath day. All right? They're following after Paul's following after the laws, statutes, okay, and commandments. Verse 15. And so were these Israelites in Antioch. Verse 15. And after the reading of the law and of the prophets, the rulers of the synagogue sent unto them, saying, Ye men and brethren, if ye have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. Verse 16. Then Paul stood up, and beckoning with his hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear the Most High, give audience. Right. So Paul is still, okay, acknowledging the Israelites, man. All right. Paul is still, all right, speaking, okay, to the circumcision, all right, about the great works of Yahushai, all right, and the history of the Israelites. Then Paul stood up and beckoning with his hand said, Men of Israel, and ye that fear the Most High, give audience. Verse 17, the Most High of this people of Israel chose our father. You see that? Chose our father. So the Lord's always been dealing with Israel. The Lord has always been dealing with Israel. So when you go into the words Gentile, and you go into the words Grecians, all right, you got to get an understanding. All right, you got to understand who Paul was talking to. All right, the dispersed Israelites. All right, of the disperser, those that didn't know that they were Israelites. Okay, because why would he say this? Is Paul being a hypocrite? No. All right. The God, I'm gonna read it verbatim. The God of this people of Israel chose our father and exalted the people when they dwelt as strangers in the land of Egypt, and with an high arm brought he them out it. And about the time of 40 years suffered he their manners in the wilderness. And when he had destroyed 7 nations in the land of Canaan, he divided their land to them by lot. And after that he gave unto them judges about the space of 450 years, until Samuel the prophet. You notice how Paul is talking about the history of the Israelites? All right? Proving that the Israelites are still here today, man. All right? The 12 tribes. Why is Paul talking about this? I thought he was an apostle of the Gentiles. Okay? Because he was letting them know about Yahushai. All right? That through Yahushai you seek salvation. All right? But you must know that you're an Israelite. That's one of the ways to seek salvation. You got to acknowledge that you're an Israelite. You're not a heathen. You're not a Gentile. All right? You're not a Grecian. Okay? You're an Israelite from one of the 12 tribes. Verse 21. And afterward they desired a king, and the Most High gave unto them Saul, the son of Cis, a man of the tribe of Benjamin, by the space of 40 years. And when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony, and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, which shall fulfill all my will. Verse 23. Of this man's seed have the Most High, according to his promise, raised unto Israel a Savior, Yahushai. You see? So it's always been Israel as being delivered. All right? So when Paul is saying I'm the apostle of the Gentiles, he's talking about Israelite foreigners. All right? The disperser. Now, let's continue on in the same chapter. I'm just going to go down, all right, to verse 46. Then Paul and Barnabas, waxing bold, and said, it was necessary that the word of the Most High should first have been spoken to you, which was the circumcision, all right, and judge yourselves on word of everlasting life. Lo, we turn to the Gentiles, all right, which are the Israelite foreigners, verse 47. For thus hath the Lord commanded us, saying, I have set thee to be a light of the Gentiles, that thou shouldest be for salvation unto the ends of the earth. Right, because the Israelites were scattered throughout the ends of the earth, man. All right? The 4 corners of the earth. All right? And Paul recited Isaiah 49 and 6. All right? And what does Isaiah 49 and 6 say? You see, you got to get into the history, man. You got to get into the history. You got to get understanding, man. Wisdom is a principal thing, and with thy getting, get understanding. And study to show thyself approved, dividing the word of truth. You got to get into the history. So the book of Isaiah 49, I'm going to start at 5. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my power shall be my strength. Verse 6. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. You see that? So, amen. There's no getting around it. I will also give thee a light to the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners who were scattered, okay, that thou mayest be salvation unto the ends of the earth. Verse 7. Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him whom man despises, to him whom nation abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, king shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship, because the Lord that is faithful and Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. Right. And he chosen, all right? He's chosen the elect who are getting this understanding of understanding who the Gentiles were. What does it mean, circumcision, uncircumcision? All right? What does that word mean, Gentiles and the word Grecians? All right? One more, and I'm going to close it out. All right? So, A, salvation only for Israel. When Paul was speaking, when he said he was he was the apostle of the Gentiles, he was talking about Israelite foreigners that were scattered, all right, that lost their identity, that lost their heritage, okay, and a perfect account is under the Greek Empire, all right? Perfect account. Go into the book of Maccabees. That's why you so-called Christians, you don't want to go into the Apocrypha, all right, because it cuts Christianity, man. You so-called Christians, you're being exposed. All right, last one, all right? Why did Paul say this? 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. Well, I'll start at 1. Now, concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. All right, this is spiritual, man. All right, to be given this gift, to get to understand the scriptures, to understand Gentiles, the term Gentiles and Grecians in its proper context. All right? Verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles. Ye were Gentiles. So if you're not a Gentile, what are you? An Israelite. Carried away unto these dumb idols, right? Okay? Mainly the dumb idols of the Greeks. Even as you were led, right? Led. Believing that you were a Greek, following after the Greek custom and culture. All right? So if you can't get it, that means, hey, that's on you, man. But the elect are going to get it. All right? Salvation is only for Israel. Paul, the apostle of the Gentiles. All right? That meant that he was the apostles of the Israelite foreigners that were scattered, okay, abroad. All right? That's why in the book of James, which is James, why did James say this? James 1:1. James, a servant of the Most High and the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. What, did James and Paul got a confusion here? Did James just override Paul? After say, you know what, I'm going back to the Israelites? No, man. You're not getting understanding. All right? The Gentiles are those Israelites that were scattered abroad. All right? And you can read up on it in multiple, okay, accounts. You can read in the book of Maccabees. All right? You can read it during the time of the Babylonian captivity. Oh, the Syrian captivity. Northern kingdom got kicked out of the land. All right? Once you get kicked out of your land, the Lord rejected you. All right? And then you had our people following after the ways of the heathen. And they're still doing it to this very day. So Lord willing, I was edifying. Hey, once again, Paul, okay, the apostle Gentile, is talking about Israelite foreigners. And if you can't get it, hey, that's on you. The elect are going to get it. That's who the Lord is dealing with. All right, we're living in the last days. Prophecy's moving fast. All right, like Apostle Tar said, he believes the elect is sealed. Okay, I believe so too. All right, I believe he's a man of the Lord. I believe the Lord's dealing with him because, hey, this is plain. All right, you're supposed to be getting into this book. If you don't want to get into this book, that's on you. All right, we live in an information age. All right, there's no excuses anymore. So if you can't get it, death upon you and your family. With that, I want to give all praise and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushua, Ba'Hashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostle, great millstone, who well and taught us this truth. And salutation to the Akim out there pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth and risking their life to do so for Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushua's sake. Love you, brothers. Keep enduring, keep the faith. And with that, Abba Babal, Shalom.